Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm getting paid. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm getting paid. Who am I? I'm so flagrant.
What's going on, Virgo? This is Boston Road. Here's your reading for the month of September. Happy birthday, guys. I hope you have a great birthday month. I'm here for your reading for this month. Just want to get into your energy. I'm going to dive into the Pocket Animal Spirit deck here. And then after that, I'm going to go into the Life Happens deck. And then also want to pull from the regular tarot deck and get the hard truth message for you guys. So let's just get started with your energy. So I pulled from that deck already. So I got the Stingray here. I had the Black Egg and the Phoenix. Okay, that's for your energy. I also had the Snake, the Golden Egg, and the Cobra for the other energy. Okay. All right, Virgo. So you guys are just in a space right now. You're going through a lot of growing pains. Okay. It could be just situations when it comes down to like, your personal life. It could be like your relationship life that's going through some changes. And you're probably in a space where you're looking for other people to sort of like, give you some a soundboard. You're looking for someone to sort of like, validate your moves on the chessboard right now. And the biggest thing for this situation, Virgo, for your this validation, that need or that want, you have to go about that process really internally, because not everybody has your best interest in mind. You could have known this person for a while, so you have the Snake energy. So that goes as far as like, a cycle that's just been a tradition for you to actually go to individuals for, just that understanding, or that, like I said, that soundboard to see, hey, you know what, did I make the right decision? Am I on the right page? And you no longer have to go through that whole step in that process, because you're going through a season where you're taking that deep dive, going through your own healing, going through your own journey to really understand, what makes you tick, what makes you go through, certain phases in life, how to go about them in the proper way. And this person that's like, in your sphere, they already went through their own challenges, their own growth process, the golden egg. Okay, that's all about having that insight, that also that soundboard internally, as far as like a healthy direction where they found their own their own self purpose, their own meaning in life. So they already had their stuff situated in check. And one thing about it is, Virgo, this person can be kind of critical. Okay, so you got the Cobra energy here. So this could be, like I said, dealing with a work environment, could be dealing with a family environment as well. Like I said, this could be someone that you're dating, to Virgo as well. And they can kind of be on the practical side, on a logical side. And I think what you guys like practical advice, you guys like logical advice. But the major thing here is this person can really steer you in the wrong direction, because they're going off of their own journey, their own pathway. Okay. And you guys probably went through things in life, or went through situations where you already, this person probably never even had that type of situation that they went through. Okay. Some of you guys could be, like I said, going through situations where it's like, through job loss, or just situation when it comes down to your emotional health. And this person just really never really went through that type of phase. Okay. This could be like someone who, when it came down to their business, it could be someone that's like, that developed their own business, or could be someone that, could be, stay at home, spouse. Okay. And they're used to like, having that support, or that, that person that's like, by their side, even if they're like, not in a stay-at-home environment. If they're dealing with a situation where they had that, that second income coming in from their spouse, or from like, someone that they're dating, they always had that comfort level. Okay. You guys could be, single, or it could be, like I said, dealing with a situation where it's like, more of the focal front of the finances are coming in from, or excuse me, more of the finances are coming in from your direction. Okay. So this person has a disconnect as far as like, your overall, challenges. Okay. Even though they could be like, from a right direction, you guys don't need to really take advice for individuals who are not really on your page. Some things is for you to go about that process, for you to understand what's going on in your own type of lens, and making those healthy decisions, internally for yourself. Okay. Going about, like I said, developing a good journal, finding, different methods as far as like, finding, exploration that's in a healthy way. It could be, like I said, going to a therapist, really finding people that really have your best interest in that way, that, probably went through that situation that you could sort of relate to. But it's all about making your own personal choices here, Virgo, because if you're going through a situation and you're going through it from like someone else's lens, you're going to run into a problem where it's like, okay, you're going to repeat a lot of things where you could have like, missed out on, entirely, if you sort of like, took your own advice and really ran with your own type of, healing process that you need to go to. Okay. Because this is the thing, Virgo. I think, with, you being in the stingray energy, this energy is funny, how it goes into it. Sometimes it places the blame on others, and not saying that that's something that you guys do. I think it's more along the lines where it's like, okay, if someone is aiding me in this situation, okay, if I had the snake energy in my environment and they give me the wrong call, then I can kind of like, sort of say, oh, well, you gave me the wrong advice. Okay. So it's not taking the whole ownership on the narrative that you're trying to get to. Okay. And I think, like I said, you guys can use that as like a safety block or a safety blanket, when it comes down to this energy. Okay. Like I said, it could be a parental figure and you're used to like, having that, like, if something doesn't really go in a certain way, you can say, well, it wasn't all of my choice. Okay. And you guys are growing out of that phase right now. You turn it into this Venus energy. You're no longer having someone to, tie your energy, tie your decision making from someone in your past, or could be someone that, like I said before, that's close with you. Because, like I said, they may have good intentions. They may have a good mindset as far as like, what their own personal experiences are to lead you into that right direction. But this is their golden egg. Okay. This is their truth. This is their understanding. This is their life perspective. And just because like someone, Virgo, is, like I said, you may look at them as far as like, a wise person, that doesn't mean that, they have that understanding to get you to the right direction. Okay. And you don't want to have someone that's really critical of your moves either. Okay. I think that, with you guys being more so on a mutable sign, you guys are a mutable sign. You guys can go to that safety zone type of net where it comes down to like, looking at a stable layout and saying, okay, well, I can sort of mirror myself in that direction. And this person here, when they have too much knowledge of what's going on in your personal life, it could be kind of like, toxic in itself. Okay. Like I said, the snake came out twice. Okay. So this could be someone that really, when it comes down to like, sharing your secrets or sharing your personal information, they can sort of go about that like in an impulsive way, because they're just, coming from this five perspective here. They're all about, not really taking that time and looking at your moment here as far as being contained in this black egg perspective to say, okay, let me give Virgo some space. It takes time for them to really learn to see what's going on. Okay. If you're going through some job situations now, it takes time to really go about that healing process as well. To like, to go back into the job market. Some of you guys could have been out the job market for a while. So you're learning different things as far as like, putting yourself back out there. Like I said, it could be different situations which you just refreshing your resume. And this person, they probably are like, they're used to doing things in their way, but they probably haven't really had their resume or things situated as far as like, changes that are needed for like the job market now. You guys are in that process where you're looking to go about that in the proper way, and they don't have the answer for you. Okay. But with this situation, you don't want it to turn into like a trauma bomb, Virgo, because with this snake here, okay, just because they're listening to you doesn't mean that this is the right person to really confide into. Okay. Because this person here could be just all about, just getting information. Okay. And just really quick to say, I told you so. Okay. It could be, like I said, that know-it-all perspective, know-it-all energy. And that's something that's just something that you just don't want to really explore right now. It's all about, really going into your inner growth process right now, really finding your inner truth to get into this Venus mode. Okay. Rather it's like a relationship. If you went through something that's challenging, okay, going to, different counseling or different therapy, that's geared to your emotional healing, and that's for your journey and your personal perspective. This person doesn't need to know all the details. Okay. Because like I said, with them having all that knowledge, they're quick to sort of go into fix it mode. And Virgo, what you need to be in is a mode of patience right now. Okay. That black egg is really about patience and understanding and learning oneself. And like I said, that stingray energy. Okay. Like I said, with the name itself, I think it's that comfort zone where you're used to saying, okay, if something doesn't work, you're used to stinging. Okay, you're used to, like I said, going to a situation where you're able to sort of like pivot the blame to someone else, and you're like, you're in the space right now. You're like, I don't want to go into that whole direction. Okay, what you're seeing now is a toxic cycle that you and this individual had before. Okay, you're no longer trying to grip to a toxic cycle or just like an immature cycle as well. Okay, could be, like I said, a mother-daughter relationship or a father-son relationship. So you're used to sort of going back and forth because you guys are so close, but you're pivoting to a whole new facet of your relationship. Okay, you're realizing that as time goes on, being in this stingray energy, okay, being, like I said, especially this negative form, as far as like, looking to, look at other people for, their guidance, or looking at situations where this person may have the answer. This is no longer going to serve you, okay? Because you're seeing a lot of things right now. It's a lot of changes that's going on, okay? And this person could have had a perspective, like I said, old type of mindset or old type of way of doing things, and their advice is kind of obsolete. Okay, you're looking at that slowly but surely, but you're not putting your emotional well-being at risk for someone who doesn't really get the clear picture. Okay, like I said, that snake energy came out twice. So, like I said, guys, be mindful. Could be friends. Okay, they mean well, they want you to do well, but at the end of the day, they have this this know-it-all perspective. So be careful who you vent to. Be careful who you vent to. So everybody that you vent to is not the healthiest. Sometimes people want to give you the answer without really understanding what you're going through on an emotional level. And make sure that you have someone in your corner when you're able to sort of go into a process where you're able to talk about things and hash things out in the proper way, and they have a clear layout as far as giving you advice, but they're not telling you what to do. Okay, they're not living vicariously through you. Okay, and that's the biggest thing right here. You don't want someone to like plan out your steps or plan out what you need to do. You still have to live your own life, Virgo. You still have to go about that process as far as understanding what path is going to be your new beginning. Okay, with this fetus energy. Okay, let's go into the life happens dead. Let's pull some more energy to get some clarity, and then also I'm going to pull some energy from the tarot deck as well. So let's see what we got here. So we got drama queen. All right, we got signs. Desperate. Take it down. Say less. Okay. So I said early on, say less. Like this person here doesn't need to know everything, the whole layout. Sometimes you guys could have had this relationship where you guys were more so like an open book, but every person in your life doesn't, some situations, some seasons are not a time to be doing a whole lot of talking. Okay. I'm going to pull for the tarot deck as well. Right. So we have, let's see, 4 cups. The 7 of Pentacles. Page of Wands. Okay. Eight of Pentacles. We got the everything is fine and the star card. Okay. I'll pull one more card. Yeah. Okay. And then we have the Queen of Cups as well. All right. Let's get started. So we got the drama queen. Okay. Like I said, this person could be kind of reckless with their mouth because they're not really patient when it comes down to understanding people's emotions. Okay, even if you know this person for a while, that's their shortcoming. They're very, now when it comes down to their own growth and their own understanding, they're able to go into this golden air perspective, but other people, they don't really get that same type of patience. Okay, you see that drama queen card. Okay, so they're looking at you as far as being dramatic, and like I said, being over the top. And I think for this month, you guys have to really watch who you handle your business, okay? Because they don't mean you well behind the scenes. Like I said before, some of them, they care for you, but when it comes down to like, really spreading your business, you don't want all your stuff in the street, and you don't want them to look at you in this perspective. Okay. You're going through a healing phase, and everybody doesn't need to know about that. Okay. You're in this blackhead type of perspective, and you're in the place where you're looking at, okay, what are the signs? What are the signs for me to go into the next direction? Okay. And this is what you're doing. Okay. In this blackhead perspective. Okay. So you got, okay, risk, opportunity, safety. Okay. What's the risk in the situation? What's the safe move for you to go to? And like I said, that's for you guys to have that internal knowing for yourself, to take a step back and say, okay, how's this actually making me feel? How's this opportunity making me feel? Okay. If this person's coming back into my life as, like I said, past, love situation, is this a risk? Okay. Is this a risk, or is this like, something that I could actually grow into? Okay. You don't want to have somebody in your ear saying, oh no, you need to leave this person alone. If you're seeing that, okay, you go into a direction, and okay, you want to give this person another chance, that's your call, Virgo. That's your call. You don't have anybody else in your life dictating your love relationships, okay? And because like I said, they could be in a space, if you do too much talking, they can look at you as like from this desperate type of lens, okay? And that's something that, like I said before, you don't want to have someone looking at you in a negative type of light, because you're going back and forth where it's like, okay, I need someone to be that soundboard energy, okay? And when that doesn't really go into the right proper way, okay, then it could be a lot of drama that goes into that situation, okay? It's just better to really do it on your own, as far as your own type of growth, okay? Having somebody that's probably outside of those, closer bonds, like I said, having like a therapist, or having someone, that's like, not really engaged in this type of cycle where you're going that back and forth type of perspective, okay? Having someone that's more logical, that would be a better type of avenue for you to sort of go into, with telling about, personal things, and really just using your discernment to see who's actually worth my time to really have these conversations with, okay? Like I said, the biggest advice here, say less. Say less, okay? This month, like I said, even though it may be a month of drama, okay, take that time to sort of like, be in your own type of space, be contained. Like I said, get that journal out, okay? Processing your emotions on a deeper level, so you can be able to sort of like pivot and go into a process where you actually got the healing that you need, okay? So we got the 4 of Cups, the Tarot deck, we got the 7 of Pentacles, we got the Page of Wands, okay, we got the 8 of Pentacles, we got the Everything is Fine, we got the Star card, and we have the Queen of Cups, okay? You guys can be over it, okay? Because you're looking to see, okay, how do I pivot from this situation? How do I grow into my environment, okay? Like I said, could be a love situation, could be worse situations where you're like, okay, I don't have the answer. This is going a little bit slow, so you're getting a little bit frustrated, okay? And what you're seeing in the situation is, like I said, you're trying to put that energy into this, starting over, like I said, really processing things on a deeper level. But it's like, you just don't, you have to sort of go through the field, Virgo. That everything is fine. Sometimes you got to go through that, that feels where it's like, okay, you know what? Let me sort of address what's going on. Okay. If it was a love situation, okay, you know what I'm saying? It's okay to go about that process where it's like, you're going through that healing phase for yourself. Okay. It doesn't have to be, like I said, it doesn't have to be that okay situation. You're putting yourself into that toxic positivity type of lens. Okay. Once you start working on this, okay, could be, like I said, work environment too as well. Once you start working and looking for other opportunities, or looking for healing on a relationship type of level, you'll come out of it as a star. Okay. You'll come out of it with that emotional healing, that emotional understanding, as far as knowing what direction you need to go into. Okay. But you have to go through the fields. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel, a little bit, a little bit different. Okay. And that's okay. I think, like I said before, this clover energy sort of like, didn't allow you to really go through that process as far as feeling, a lot of those negative emotions. Okay. Because they probably, like I said, they saw a lot of things on, it's their method. It's when they see issues, or when they see a lot of like, emotions on display, this person always goes to that fix it mentality. Okay. And it's okay to sort of feel upset and, go through those feels, okay, to come out stronger. That's an okay thing too, Virgo, as well. Let's go into the Hard Truths deck. I'm going to get some advice before you guys go forward with the month ahead. Okay. Let's see here. pull 2 cards for you for the month of September. Give you some advice. Okay. The first one I got for you was grudge. Okay. And desperate. Okay. All right. So we have grudge. Harboring hatred traps you in the past, anchoring you to the old, wounds and preventing progress. Let go with forgiveness to break free from the cycle. Okay. And I think that this is something that you guys are slowly breaking free from. Okay. Could have been, like I said before, a relationship situation, or, someone that could have been friendship wise, or could have been a work situation as well. And it takes time to go about that healing process. Okay. You guys have sort of gone through that whole situation as far as really understanding what part you played in the situation, what made you choose that opportunity, what made you choose this person that you dated. Okay. It's all about, understanding yourself. And once you have a deeper understanding of yourself, you're able to heal. Okay. And with this person here, not being able to let you do that, okay, you can sort of walk away with a grudge for this person, okay, if you don't go about that process with setting boundaries to let them know, okay, you know what, I don't need any insight with this, okay, I'm not trying to trauma bond with you so you could be all up in my, situation, and I'm not really going about any proper healing. I'm just venting, but I'm not really gaining any type of understanding or, any comfort with, moving forward in this, this issue or troubles that I'm having, okay. So that's something that you guys have to really work on too as well. And you don't want to put yourself in a grudge perspective with dealing with somebody who just doesn't have the, the capabilities to lead you in the right direction or the understanding on how to go about that process. Okay. So we got desperate. Most situations aren't as dire as they are. I'm sorry. Most situations aren't as dire as they may seem. Take time to make thoughtful decisions. There's no reason to rush, and always time to give yourself grace. Okay. That's desperate. Okay. Like I said, you guys could be in a situation right now. Okay. You could be feeling like you're the drama queen, and it's okay. Sometimes, like I said before, sometimes we got to go through all the phases of the drama, the up and down. Okay. That's all about the growth too. Understanding your emotions, understanding that, situations are going to have you in your feels sometime. Okay. It's okay to process all of that. Okay. That's a healthy place to be. But, just being able to sort of break away from that grudge perspective and go about, moving into a direction when you're able to heal from it and have that understanding as far as what puts you into this situation, that helps close that cycle. Okay. That helps, like I said before, have that deeper understanding, that deeper knowledge. That black egg has that deeper understanding, going deep into your emotional well-being and seeing, okay, how do I heal this level of, repressed emotions that I'm going through. Okay. I think it's going to be, like I said, Virgo, it's going to be a tough month, but I believe that, with the proper healing and with that proper introspective, work that you guys are going to be going through, it's going to bring about you moving forward in the Phoenix direction. Okay. All right, guys, this is your reading for the month of September. Once again, have a happy birthday. Looking forward to talking to you soon. Have a good one.
Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm getting paid. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm getting paid. Who am I? I'm so flagrant.